right, I am coming to you from my hometown, Ardmore, Oklahoma, on the sunny side of the Arbuckles, and wanted to introduce a new series called the Clear Skies, trying to look at the world that we've come out of and where we might be going. Some of the stuff that our IBO headquarters team is doing on behalf of all the boys and girls with our 230 odd companies that are out there. And so, kicking through it, sunny side of the Arbuckles, I want to try to keep a positive view on things. And even though 2020, I wanted to have perfect vision coming out of this year, what we got was total insanity, which I don't think anybody will say that it's we didn't have that. Thank God I've got my place out here. We just finished up, it's right before New Year's Eve. We've done some habitat work. And it really kind of solids your mind. So I would encourage everybody to find a hobby, find a passion other than your work, get engaged in it, learn it, love it, and live it. And to that extent, we love having people come out for hunts and those kinds of things, and we'd love for you to be here with us. 2021 is probably going to be better, but it is also going to be probably harder. Irrespective of all the hype that we hear and see about getting back to normal, we are not going to ever get back to normal as we once knew it. The technology is changing things, and Zooms and those meetings, we can see that. And so I wanted to shift and talk about our IBO HQ team. We think that it will be much better going forward, and we have focused on the efforts with Becky and Kaylee and Hunter and Darren and Marcus and Keith and Jared going forward on your behalf. And believe it or not, that I was amazed that given this year, I had a number in my mind of what we wanted to do to bring revenues to the folks, and by damned if we didn't double that amount. Just looked at the numbers as we punched them through, and it's exciting to see that. I also wanted to reiterate, based on some of the feedback that we're having with all the new companies and the new people, it'll be old hat for the other people that are been around for 18, 20 years and friends and know what we're doing, but I wanted to reiterate what IBO is. IBO is a networking group. We function as a co-op. We banded together about that long ago around a cooler of beer to try to decide on how we're going to compete better against the big boys. And every step of the way, our execs, John Arnold, Charlie Clough, Josh Pfefferman, Charlie McIntyre, Matthew Molman, and myself all had this vision of how we're going to do this, and we do that on a regular basis. Analyze how we're going, what services we're providing, and that we function on a not-for-profit basis. It's a business structure. It's confusing to so many people, but we want to be able to exclude bad actors and people that are not strategically aligned with us, that we can look out for the best interests of our constituency, you guys. And so that's what IBO is. We're not a trade organization. OAAA is our trade organization. We are a networking group. We want to focus on improving our lives, learning more, making more money, and having some fun along the way. So what's killer about this is we started off with 3 or 4 companies 18, 19 years ago. We've grown to 230 companies. Awesome. Darren Henry, the sheriff, is responsible for oodles of those, and you've interacted with him. Reach out, talk to him, talk to us. I need his help. I need everybody's help to talk to and educate all the different operators that are coming on board. We now have a footprint of 90,000 faces. Imagine that, 90,000 faces. And 45,000 of them are connected up to our new IBO Speedway, which we've developed in this pandemic era, up from about 18,000 that we had connected in our old platform, how we did it before. It's an awesome undertaking, but it also highlights that we have 45,000 more faces to go. And to put into perspective, How is that in compared? We've seen a couple of articles in Billboard Insider about the percentages of independents, where maybe Outfront thought there was 125 companies. Heck, there's 230 connected now. We think there's easy 850 different types of companies out there. And it's exciting to know that what we're doing is coalescing all that. And here's the upside. What we wanted to do was to focus, and I'll shift on it in a minute, about our strategic direction. What do we want to do? We want to bring revenues to our people. And to just beat the chest of our team, we have, like I said, doubled it. We brought 76 companies in our group money this year, whether it's from Terry Carmody or Lisa Rondina or from our connections with the DSPs. We averaged $27,000 per company. And there's some lower and there's some way higher, depending on where your market is. But it's just amazing to us that in this time when everybody is hurting, and we have been able to bring revenues to our people and increased on a doubling factor to what we had done. I got to really compliment our IBO team. They're based here in Oklahoma. We're hardworking people. We're ranchers by orient. We want the old ranchers helping ranchers. And I can tell you that they put in a lick every day on your behalf. Those of you who don't know Hunter that have gotten deals, by golly, you know Hunter. She gets there. Darren, the sheriff, he keeps you in line. He brings you those. Marcus delivers the insertion orders. And Becky, if you're dealing with workflow or trying to get onto the speedway, she's the gal that makes that happen. And of course, Kaylee in the frequency world with online. We're going to talk about that in sessions like this going forward. I have to figure out how to communicate with you all. So the key thing is we have had to refocus our strategic direction. Less on services, although we do have health services and things like design-oriented services and things like that, but we really need to focus on the bread and butter of the world. That's what's going to help pay our overhead for you as our co-op, and what's going to bring money to your table. We've had to shift. We've had to become more agnostic and open to anything that's accretive, means additive. Anything that's additive to the ability to generate revenues, we want to be involved in that. So that includes software. That includes the platforms that are out there. That includes all the verticals, and that's a confusing term, verticals, but that's pipes that connect up that bring us money from, say, ad agencies. Some really fun stuff is going to be announced in the next month, 2-3 months, and I just want to get you started thinking about some of those things. We needed to focus not on one solution that would bring everybody into one place, but we had to focus more on what the different operators are using and then accommodate to what they have been doing. And so you'll see a number of different platforms come into play, some new ones come in, not necessarily what we desire, what makes it easy for us. We don't mind what's easy for us. We want to know what's easy for you. And so we've accommodated spreadsheets, PDFs, different vendors that are out there that allow you to do your workflow, and we've incorporated, and that's enabled us to get up to that 45,000 connected speedway in our speedway operation. You know, that rivals the big four. You know, 40,000 and 40,000 for Outfront and Clear Channel. We've got a 90,000 footprint. We've got 45,000 connected. We're in second place, if you want to consider us that way, behind Lamar. We are getting noticed, and we are getting interesting conversations about how we move forward. So what else in strategic direction? MRC, Media Rating Council. IBO is a member of the Media Rating Council, and it's an interesting organization, MediaRatingCouncil.org. I challenge you to go Google that and learn about it. For the last 2 years, I've been a board member, and I have participated in well over 100 digital audits on services that bring data to the digital out-of-home world. This is primarily more internet, tablet, mobile phone type stuff, but I challenged myself to learn about that, because why? It's going to impact us. Andy Shreva spoke to us at the Columbus event that we had about the big boys. They're big boys at Outfront, $1.4 billion per year in the pre-COVID world. You know, but he says, you know, Google, Facebook, Amazon, these are the big boys. They're coming out to eat their lunch, and guess what? They're going to eat our lunch too. And so we need to really focus on the Media Rating Council type things of where they're coming up with standards to make this go. And so I'm there watching the audience, digital trends, learning how to educate you folks on how to incorporate into your normal local sales mode on how to incorporate audience. And we're doing some of those kinds of things with frequency with our online ad stuff. There's going to be some other cool stuff that I'll mention in just a minute. But we want to also monitor these vertical stacks. And by vertical stacks, I mean Google, I mean Facebook, I mean Amazon, I mean Apple, I mean Microsoft. These are verticals that are there. They have their own technologies and they compete against each other. They all have sales teams that go out and sell ads for themselves, against you, and against each other. And so there is a whole interest of what they're doing programmatically that also impacts us. But right now, programmatic is not even close to the amount of percentage. It's on the order of 4% or 5% of what the total is we've done this year. So while it will be important going forward, it is not the panacea. We really need to be focusing on other things. So what should you be watching? You should be paying attention to the vertical ad stacks. You should be to the Google, the Facebook, the Apple, the Amazons that I've mentioned. They have this thing called a shiny ball. Here's the shiny ball over here, and you want to be focusing on that while other things are going on over here. Why do they do that? Because that's what they do. They want to focus you away from the key issues. And so what are the key issues coming up that I'm aware of based on my involvement with MRC that I'm communicating back with you? Each of us may not understand them individually, but I'm going to challenge you later to go learn about them. Third-party cookies. Google has 86% of the search on internet in the world. That means that they have control over the ad placements for YouTube and or banner ads that appear. 86% control over that. That's important to us because in 2022, which is only a year from now, it was going to be 2021, but now 2022, they're going to eliminate what is called third-party cookies. That is a trailing mechanism where your browser activity is then shared with other participants that will allow them to then serve you ads. They're going to do away with that because the Great Britain and over in the GDPR over in Europe, they have come up with these privacy. So here's the shiny ball. Privacy is the reason they're eliminating cookies, but now they control all of the cookies. They control all of that themselves as what is called first-party data. They won't share that with anybody. And so in that environment, you are going to then be competing against Google on your local sales. And we'll talk about some of that in a bit in other sessions down the road. Apple is the next one. Apple, in their GPS location privacy, they focused on privacy. We're moving and not providing information to other parties to aggregate mobile phone activity. Their mobile phones are Apple phones because of privacy issues. Well, guess what? Apple has their own sales team, and their sales team goes out there and guess what? They compete against you, taking local sales dollars and putting it into the digital platform, meaning mobile or internet or tablet world, and not on your digital billboards because that isn't going to benefit them. And so from a standpoint that they're not sharing that data and they're fuzzing it so that it can be, as we in months past, we would be able to tell that a mobile phone went by our billboard location. We're unable to do that going forward. Apple can do it, but we're not going to be able to do that through other aggregators. And so it's going to create a challenge for them. It's going to be a benefit for us. This is why I want us to be focusing on some of those things. The next thing is Amazon. Amazon's market share, they're incredibly taking over. Look at their stock that has gone up in the last 6 months where everybody's been holed up. They are actually taking business away from our local advertisers. Our local advertisers is who are our bread and butter. So we really need to focus on what Amazon's doing because it's challenging our mom and pops in our local regions Our hometowns are being impacted negatively, and it might impact us. So we need to focus on Amazon. Now, what is really funny to me is that in this whole thing, another vertical known as Facebook has come out in recent stories about they're whining about the activities that Apple is doing with their location services. Let me get my head around this. Facebook is whining about what Apple is doing, and Facebook is now going to be the advocate for the small business people. It's just hilarious listening to it, but it illustrates a point that the mobile ads, the locals, Facebook is going to be unable to target those ads, and that gives us the opportunity, if we know how to use it and to do it, it has to focus our own tool sets and sell our pole in the ground, which is unarguably easy to see every time that goes by. And so there's a third part in this, what you should be watching. There has been, the government launched through the Justice Department 2 antitrust lawsuits. Sherman Antitrust hasn't been done since the 20s and 30s when we had Standard Oil and a few others. AT&T has been done in more recent years, but these things are going to impact. There is a suit filed against Google, and there is a suit filed against Facebook. These will impact us coming forward. It'll take 3 to 5 years. That gives us opportunity to build our tool sets, build our skill sets, build the ways that we then can go in and combat and position ourselves to be able to do that. And this is why it matters. It's because we as a group have grown to where we are. We're getting noticed. We're actually getting inquiries. I get knock-knocks on a regular basis on how we can participate. But more importantly, how is, back to the opening, it's not going back to normal. Agencies on the West Coast and East Coast, in LA and New York City and the other hubs, they are really having a hard time paying their freight. Their overhead was bloated. They've laid off people. Talent has left and gone to other places and to start their own businesses. And that's why it matters. We are not going to see them go back. They'll rebound, but they're not going to be back. There's going to be other things that there. They want to cut overhead. They want to find out how to downsize further, looking for other options. What are the options? Our skill sets in the IBO Speedway, whereby we coalesce with you guys and make it easy. We've been told that we can save anywhere from 6 to 25% of a campaign cost by providing the services that we do for you. And we're proving that the revenues can go up in that environment, and we think that next year is even going to be better, even if things turns worse. So we want to be able to have you focus on those vertical ad stacks and know what those sales teams are doing. They're taking away your local ad dollars. So from an overall standpoint, the Amazon taking those people out of business, the government closures are not helping matters at all in your local areas. Ours isn't impacted so bad, and some are different than others, but we just have to focus on, this is why that it matters that you learn about this. So what can you do? I want you to learn about the internet and mobile ad sales. We have a Frequence Online that's there, and there's some awesome stuff that Kaylee is working on with Frequence classes over a series of different ways for you to come in and be introduced to these concepts. It's heady stuff. It's not where we've come from, but we're not changing. It's not going back to where we were before. If you don't change, you'll get left behind. I don't want you to get left behind. We want to do everything that we can help you to do that. OAAA has a wonderful series that started off in October called the Master Sales Series. This is another reason why we need to embrace OAAA as our trade organization. Some people see that we're competitors. No, we're not. They do legal. They do things like this Master Series. There's a fella in there that named Stephen Golus, Golus. Google it. Stephen, STEVENGOLUS.com. Subscribe to his newsletter that comes out for free every 2 weeks. He will educate you on the TV, online, and the ad business that's there. Those people are the ones that are stealing your money. They're taking your revenues away from your advertisers. I looked at, I signed up and did a Google business account for Look Billboards myself, Facebook account for Look Billboards, and launched them in the last couple of days. Because this guy, Stephen Goulas, said to go do that. And so I've done it. And believe it or not, I see why so many people are doing it. It's easy. We need to make buying us easy. It's not easy. We need to do that. And at IBO HQ, this is what we're focusing on, trying to make life easy. So go set up an account. We went out and pitched our billboard ads, and we're running those. Learn about how they're doing it. Learn about how people are taking your money and putting it on online. We need to compete with them. So go out there, learn about that, know what you can, and above all, if you're not one of the 76 companies that's connected and getting deals from us, you need to ask the question, why not? There's not a reason. It's not obligatory. We could care or mind less whether you participate and accept any deal, but any deal that comes across, we give you the option to take it or not. We prefer you to sell it yourselves. If you don't need the IBO, you don't need the IBO. But it helps us pay our freight, the overhead that's there, and to that extent, I'd like you to call myself anytime, Darren Henry, Darren at IBO USA, or talk to Becky at IBO USA, and get involved. Figure out what it takes. Take those steps to do it. This is my clear sky, the vision that we have looking forward into 2021. Coming from the sunny side of the Arbuckles. Have a great 2021.